I spent 4 months and almost every dollar I have to build a game that helps you walk more, and here's why I did it. 7 years ago, I tore my ACL playing football. My knee full on exploded. It was really gross, not a good memory, but I'm a pretty naturally positive person, so I tried to take it in stride. I went and did all the stuff. I navigated the healthcare system. I waited 6 months and I had surgery. But unfortunately, my surgeon didn't do a very good job. At our first checkup, he let me know by hitting me with a quote that I will literally never forget. He did a manual exam on my knee and he literally went like this. That's not good, but nothing we can do now. So I was a 20-year-old kid whose whole life was movement and sports being told I'm basically screwed. I did my best to ignore what he said and push through it, and I tried to rehab as hard as I could, but I was working from a very bad foundation, so because of that, it wasn't long until I retore my knee again. This was the start of what would become the most painful time of my life. In the 5 years after the first surgery, I had 4 more knee surgeries to try and fix what wasn't done right the first time. After the first 3, I was in such a bad state that I could barely move. Every day was incredibly painful, and so I searched the internet for options. I'm not a quitter. So I convinced myself there's gotta be other options out there. There's gotta be people that are doing things that most aren't, and I'm gonna find them, and I'm gonna do it by any means necessary. I found a doctor across the country, and I drove with my sister 30 plus hours to go to him and paid out of pocket for what I hope would be a surgery that would save my life. And unfortunately, after all of that, the surgery failed again. At this point, I could barely walk. I had bankrupted myself trying to solve my problem. I was hopeless. And honestly, it was really hard to even get out of bed most days, let alone do any sort of movement. Everything hurt. And to be 26 and to have that reality, it was really hard to grasp. I used to watch people outside of my window that were walking without pain and just be so jealous and envious of them. Because it had been so many years, I almost forgot what that felt like, and I really missed it. I ended up getting one more surgery that they usually only do on a lot older people, where they cut my leg in half and changed how my bones sat in my body because of all the years where I was living without ligaments, changing how everything sit. I have that surgery to thank for this massive scar. Even after this, I was supposed to have one more surgery, but the surgeon that I worked with said my knee was in such bad shape, he refused to do another surgery. He told me very bluntly, this is just a very bad situation. You're likely not gonna run again. This is your life now. Make the best of it. And I remember being in that medical room like it was yesterday. I was numb at this point. I had lived through all the pain. I had fought through all that I could fight through, and I just surrendered in that moment. Hearing something that would have crushed me a few years ago and not feeling anything was a really weird experience, but I had nothing left. After this surgery, I was alone in my apartment, and I did everything that I could to try to get better as someone who was by themselves and in a ton of pain. At this point, I'd given up on the dream of ever moving without pain, so I just promised myself that I wouldn't quit, and I would just do the smallest thing each day to try to get closer to feeling better. Sorry, this is really hard to talk about. I try not to talk about it because it was okay. Keep going. And after a few months, I was able to start walking again a little bit. And eventually I was walking outside, and I just remember thinking about how, even though it was still painful, something that I would have never have even thought about losing when I was growing up brought me so much joy, and I was so grateful to have it. Even though every step hurt a little bit, I was still so grateful that I could even take them. And because walking was pretty well all that I could do with my body in the state that it was, I walked, and I walked every single day. And I was so grateful, and I would look up to the sky in gratitude. And I was also trying to see UFOs, I can't lie. But I was just so grateful that I could even move. And I obsessed over being grateful about that, and I obsessed over being able to walk, period. And eventually the pain got less and less. I kept doing more things the doctor told me I never would. And 3 years later, I do things that I couldn't have dreamed of, and the doctors wouldn't believe them if I told them I did them. And when I was at my lowest, I would never in a million years have believed that I'd be able to get to this point. Honestly, I almost didn't make it, but what got me through it was just putting one foot in front of the other. So although it may seem silly or not a big deal to create a game that makes people walk more, I know walking can save lives. It saved mine. So that's why I made the game. Yeah, I guess I should probably tell you about the game, eh? Okay, so the game's called Step Pals. It works a lot like Tamagotchi. You adopt a virtual pet, you set a daily step goal, and you can only keep your step pal alive by hitting your daily steps and taking care of them. It sends you notifications throughout the day, and it keeps you accountable to walking every day. It's on iPhone and Android. Links are on our page if you want to give it a try. You can try it out for free. You can also find it by searching in the app stores by typing in Step and then a space Pals. If you just do our full name, Staples shows up. Thank you, Apple. But if you have any trouble finding it, just send me a message and I'll send you a link directly. We're currently working on new features to make the game even better that we can't wait to share with you, and I hope you love it. Peace and love. I'll see you next time.